we're now being joined by Mr. Tony Sanchez, the UNLV head boss. Coach, you're going into your third year. Before we get into that, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you. Welcome.
No, it's a pleasure to be on.
Thank you. And so year three into your era here, and every year you won more than the last year. But this year, it seems something like, if you want to take that big leap, it has to be now. Or it doesn't have to be, but do you have that sense of urgency where that leap is about to jump?
And you do, because, and it's more for the players than anything else. It's not about, you got to do it for outside, reasons. You want your players to have success. They've bought into change. Yep. They've done a lot of things to help move the needle and change the culture of the program. And you want them to leave with success, especially our seniors. You want them going out in a bowl game, going out, after a big win against, Reno. And those are all tough things to do, especially in a program that really has no consistency, in this tradition. So we've had a couple good years. It's 50-year Rebel football, which tells you how young we really are when you compare it to some other programs. But I really believe with the talent base we've recruited to, the development of our young men, the work they've put in this offseason, the lessons we've learned the last couple of years, having a team of more depth that can sustain some more injuries. We had quite a few last year. This is a team that can make a run at it, So we're going to have to take it one game at a time. But the thing I've learned the last 2 years is just how competitive this league is from top to bottom. The margin is so small in this conference. So you're going to have to make some plays in important times.
Yeah, now talk about a little bit when you came in. Obviously you came from a high school background, and a lot of people were saying, can this transition, can this happen? But you weren't the only one. There's been several high school to come to college, and maybe not as known as you were, but it has happened before. But how did you adapt, or maybe even shut the naysayers up, say it's just football, it's just a matter of, like you said, buying into a product?
Well, it's the first time in 11 years that we've had back-to-back seasons of progressive wins, so we've gotten better there. We scored more points last year than we had in 39 years. So, we've done some great things on the field, and I think a lot of it, too, is, when you look at some of the coaches, some of them have made jumps as coordinators and such, but, high school coaches have had a major impact on the game of college football. You look at, Alabama's defensive coordinator came from Hoover High School in Alabama, and you look at Gus Malzahn, and, obviously off the field with some issues, but Art Brown, the success that he created, and, there's been a lot of guys that have spent a lot of years at the high school ranks. And I feel like I was very blessed to be at a high school that did things at a really high level. Did a weekly radio show, we flew on planes, traveled across the country. I think we played on TV more than UNLV did before we got there. So it's one of those deals where I learned a lot in that process. But at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about creating a culture. It's about, again, understanding your X's and O's, but making sure that there's a process in place where everybody understands what's expected of them. They all understand the master plan. Everybody's completely bought into it. It's no days different than, running a company. And that's what we're doing here, at a high level, and doing it on Saturday. So we're excited about it. And you know what? To me, it's never been a burdensome process.
Right. Now, do you consider UNLV to be a relatively young team, or is this a nice, mature team that you can say, hey, this is going to be a nice, veteran-led team?
It's kind of an interesting deal. When you look at it, we're both at the same time. We played so many young guys. When you look at this year coming back, we've quite a few starters returning on the offensive side. And the only seniors we have are Boyd and Trevor Cantaman, and I believe that's it. So, and Kyle Saxton. So we return a bunch of guys, but only 3 are going into their senior year. So we've got the majority of the guys for 2 more years. So we're young and old. Now defensively, we're a lot younger. We've got guys like Mike Hughes who'll make a big impact. Got a bunch of young guys in the secondary. Other than Robert Jackson, will be a senior, and we need to see some improvement in that area. But I think we're both. I think we're young and we're experienced.
Well, with that going into, that leads me to this, where media, the media picked you to finish in the upper echelon of the West Division. How do you think the team will react to that?
It's one of those deals where I'm a very open book with my players and with our community. I'm going to tell them, straight up, hey, that's great. That shows that they've seen that we've had success and we've gotten better. Right. But if you think number 3 in your pocket going into a conference game doesn't mean anything, you're crazy. So at the end of the day, you got to go out and you got to execute. You got to win some tight ball games, and you got to make some big plays and great stops. And we got to focus on the things that we can control. I mean, you got to go 1-0. I mean, it's been since I believe 1999 since our team's gone 2-0 out of the gates. You know, that's a long time. You know, so you got to take it one quarter at a time, one game at a time. But that's a great goal to have coming right out. You know, and then getting into the postseason. So at the end of the day, we'll find out where we are. Are we number 3? We want to be number 1. I don't think you should celebrate being third. You know, so again, that's not the goal, but it's good to see the people see that we're improving.
Right, and that's huge because I mean, before you got there, I mean, UNLV was not where it needed to be, and that just proves your hard work and with the staff and all that going and good things are turning for UNLV now. What are the some of the strengths or weaknesses you're looking forward to as fall camp begins?
Well, I would say the biggest strength we have is, that offensive line. We were the number 15 rush offense in the country last year. We lost one guy in the 2 deep, Will Kreitler, who was a great big loss. But we returned Charles Williams, returned Lexington Thomas, and Xavier Campbell. So, anytime you have a run game to rely on, that's a big deal, especially when you're breaking in a new quarterback. And then that receiving core you put up against anybody in our conference. I mean, it's a talented group. Obviously, there's Boyd, but during the Fresno game last year, we lost Woods. And in week 1, we lost Presley, and before the season, we lost Keith. So we were really kind of a one-legged guy last year. So this year, with those 4 guys, with the run game, it's going to give our quarterback a chance to ease in. I think we can be really explosive. Defensively, I think our front 7's pretty solid. Linebacker-wise, we lost Talotolele, but I think overall we're going to be faster and more athletic. The biggest concern for me in the secondary, and that's a big concern, we have not played well there the last couple of years. We had change in our cornerback spot and coaching with David Lockwood. Excited about Lockwood and what he can bring. I think we're longer at the safety spot, but again, we're young there, so we're going to have a bunch of young guys step up and make some plays.
And you alluded to the coaching changes, and just looking at your roster, there's a lot more mix of Valley players into UNLV. Before we get to the coaching change, just mention how you're tapping the recruiting scene in the Central Valley, where it's a new era with Coach Tedford. But before Tedford, there wasn't really that much emphasis in the Valley. Were you kind of surprised by that, or?
Well, I grew up in Northern California, living more, very familiar with Fresno State, the Sweeney and Hill days and such, and and DeRuyter's, first couple of years and everything, good guy there, and recruiting's a hard deal because you're always going to get a lot of heat locally, and you're always trying to do what you feel is best, but when you've got talent in your area, you got to make sure you go get it. The worst thing, it's one thing if you get beat by UCLA or you get beat by USC for a guy, but it's terrible when you're playing San Diego State and Donald Pumpkin's running all over you, and he's from Las Vegas. You got to fight, at least make the effort to keep those guys home. So for us being able to steal with Charles Williams, who broke our record for most yards ever as a freshman, and having some different guys, really contribute. It's been a big deal for us. So we're excited about, the Central Valley, just like Coach Tedford is. I know what that V means because, again, I was raised not too far from there. I know the emphasis he's going to put on it, so it's going to be a lot tougher to go in there and win in the Central Valley. But we're still going to recruit the heck out of it because, tell you what, Central Valley football is about as good as football as there is in the state of California.
Yeah, and then going back to the coaching change, a couple of coaches went to Fresno State. How was that process like, or how is that process when it's off season? Do coaches really tell you, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, or I'm going to be leaving, or how is that process like?
With those 2 guys, it was day after the Reno game. I think they'd already made their decisions or whatever before. But anyways, it's part of the game. Guys move on, other guys come in, and to me, anytime there's change, it gives you an opportunity to get better. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. So, those guys did a great job, but I tell you what, David Lockwood come in, really excited about him, developed some great players. He's a great recruiter, and we saw some improvement in that corner area during the spring, and that's an area we had to improve in. When you look at the running back, I think Coach Christian did a really good job over 2 years recruiting to that room. And Travis Burkett came in and did a great job of finishing it off, with this recruiting class. So, hey, I was appreciative of those guys the time they worked for us. I know they're both Bulldogs, and they played there, so, they kind of got called home. So, good for those guys. We're excited about the guys we brought in, and it's just one of those things you deal with as a head coach.
And also, you can look at it while they're tapping into UNLV because we have a successful thing going on here. So they're tapping into, UNLV. So that just speaks volumes on what you can do with your coaching staff. So
no doubt, yeah. And you know what? And you know, the one thing that I'm proud of is the whole thing is you want to surround yourself with quality people.
Right.
You know, we give ourselves a lot of credit sometimes to the head coaches, but you're only as good as the people around you. And,
right.
you know, in the last couple of years, you know, we haven't had a lot of turnover, but the turnover we've had has been guys, you know, getting opportunities. Joe Ciamalo, year one went to Arizona State, you know, and then year two guys went to Fresno. Our strength coach had a chance to go to USC, and you know, and each time we've brought in guys that I think that have helped us move forward, right? But for those guys, it's great to see that when you look at UNLV and how we're producing players and how we're developing players, it's highly thought of now, and that's a good thing.
There was a couple things before we let you go. There was a rumor that you reached out to Coach Hill when you got hired.
Yeah, no, not a rumor, it's true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I was going through the process before I was hired, I called him up, asked him what he thought, talked to him about it. I'll be honest with you, within 24 hours of me making the decision, because I had a pretty good situation where I was at.
Right.
And, you know, family was doing well, life was good, and it's a hard thing to walk away from. So, you know, Coach Hill's one of the last guys I spoke to, and I remember, just having great conversations with him over many years just about football and philosophy. And he came to see us last year during the summer, sat down with our O-line coaches. Just a great guy, you know. Did some amazing things at Fresno State. Been an amazing coach, and he's a good friend.
How does Oakland Raiders coming, Las Vegas Raiders now? How is that? Has that impacted now, or is it going? Or how do you anticipate it impacting?
Well, it has impacted, and we anticipate it being a huge impact. Number one, being an NFL city is a big deal. Sharing the stadium with the Raiders. I mean, now when we recruit, I mean, these kids that we're recruiting that are going into their senior years, they'll be redshirt sophomores or juniors when they're running out in the most expensive stadium in the United States, you know, maybe the world. But having that as our home field, you know, bringing the proximity closer to campus, closer to Las Vegas Boulevard, it's going to be one of the most unique, awesome venues in all of college sports. So that's a big deal to recruit to.
Yeah. Are you gonna reach out to Derek Carr to maybe help you out a little bit?
I don't know, he's a bulldog, man. I don't know if I read somewhere where someone asked, "Are you going to cheer for UNLV?" He said, "Heck no, I'm a bulldog," and I respect the heck out of him for saying that. But I'll be cheering for him on Sundays.
Great, thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, you got it.